to another show here from Brownsville, Texas, and Luke Fruia Motors is our location. Buick, GMC, and Cadillac talking sports. I'm Joe Bowling, Mark Lozano to my right-hand side. A special guest. We'll be talking about recruiting. We'll be talking about softball. We'll be talking about soccer. We'll have a special guest joining us on the phone a little bit later on, talking about additional recruiting information out there on the football side. Just another busy show. Our show continues here each and every week on a Wednesday afternoon, and I do appreciate everyone that's tuning in wherever you may be. Those who are watching on our social media, please share the link on our Facebook and our YouTube and let people know that this is going on. These shows are informative, especially to those parents and athletes who are out there that are looking at, hey, I want to play college, I want to play at the next level once I get through high school, and that doesn't matter whether you're in the freshman, sophomore, junior, even seniors, and earlier than that. You may want to tune into these shows if you know someone that's out there that has visions of one day playing at a level above the high school level. These are the type of shows that I invite you to tune in for. It's going to be a lot of information. Again, on this show, we'll be talking about our showcases. I want to throw the dates out there once again. Our first showcase here for the Real Sports Live crew will be June 17th and 18th. That's a soccer showcase. That's at HEB Park. We have players that have been signing up. We're continuing to press it out there to have players sign up. This is a big event. It's at a big venue, and there's a lot of eyeballs that are already committed to being there. If you take a look at our recent flyer that we put out on Real Sports Live, we have colleges that are committed to being there and watching the games. We have colleges committed to watching the games online. And we have professional scouts and teams from across the world that have already committed that their scouts, too, have interest in our showcase. And so if you're looking as a soccer player to get in front of eyeballs and you have aspirations for playing again above the high school level, well, then our showcase is certainly a place in which you can get that done. We're going to have 196 players when it's all finished and said, wrapped up into one big group, and then we'll divide that into teams, 4 boys teams, 4 girls teams. They'll play on Saturday, and then they'll play championship games on Sunday. That's June 17th and 18th. Our sign-ups continue. Look on our social media, on our Facebook. You'll see our flyer, which has information on how to sign up for the soccer showcase. It's a big deal. It's coming up in June. The week after that, on June 23rd, 24th, and 25th, is a 3-day event in which will be our second annual Rio Sports Live softball showcase. And we're about 95% full on that one on the sign-ups. And the only reason we're not at 100% is the fact that some of the coaches that are involved with teams that are still alive in the playoffs have asked us not to contact players on their team because they just want to continue to focus on what is front and center, and that is their dreams and their plans to get to the state championship games. And we do have teams still alive. We have players that are on those teams that are going to be a part of our showcase. Once they sign on, then we'll be at 100% capacity. That 3-day event will mark another level as far as our showcases go. This past year was our second annual basketball, and we did grow with that. We moved that to the Vipers facility, had players from Dallas, had players from El Paso, had players from outside the Rio Grande Valley, inside the Rio Grande Valley, a good mix of basketball players. The softball showcase is indeed even taking that to another level. We've got a lot of returners from last year because of the group being a young core of players that were involved, that are signed up, that are back on. Our home run derby, which last year we had on day 2, has been moved to its own unique day on a Friday night in Raymondville. And we've got our participants that are going to be competing in the home run derby. That'll be taking place on Friday, June 23rd. 24th, again, is games all throughout the day featuring Rio Grande Valley, outside the Rio Grande Valley players squaring off. And then on the final day on Sunday, we get to the eventual championship games. So the 2 big showcases coming up on Real Sports Live are the soccer showcase, June 17th and 18th. That's a Saturday and Sunday. And then the following week on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, June 23rd, June 24th, June 25th. That's our softball showcases which is coming your way. We're at Luke Fruia Motors, Buick GMC Cadillac. Mark Lozano, again, we got a good coach on hand. He and I talked yesterday on the phone. I know we were a three-way call.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure we let you talk much during that one, but a coach is going to bring some good information to our show.
Definitely. Now, I enjoyed the conversation yesterday. This gentleman that you're bringing on, a dear friend of mine. I've known him for a very long time, in fact, 40 years, and he's very instrumental in the college world when it comes to recruiting. He's been just about any Power 5 school. He's been there, and he understands what it takes to play at that level.
That's Jimmy Gonzalez, and we'll join him. He's from University of Texas El Paso. That's UTEP, and we'll be talking football, recruiting, and the landscape out there on Division I and more. Jimmy Gonzalez joins us. We'll be right back after this. This is the Luke Fruia Show from Rio Sports Live. We are back here at Luke Fruia Motors on a Wednesday afternoon. Buick GMC and Cadillac, our sponsor here on Rio Sports Live, one of our sponsors as we continue to showcase athletes from inside and outside the Rio Grande Valley and reach out and have coaches join us on a regular basis. Mark Lozano to my right-hand side, and now a special guest joining us on the phone, and that is Jimmy Gonzalez from University of Texas El Paso. And, Coach, can you hear me fine?
Yes, I sure do, Joe. How's it going?
Great. Good stuff. Good visit yesterday, and let's jump right into it. First of all, University of Texas El Paso, and, on the football landscape, let's just clear the board, and let's talk about, in general, how much recruiting has changed over the years, especially the last couple since COVID.
Well, I've been doing this about 40 years, and what I tell people is what's happened in the last 3.5 to 4 years. It started off with the grad transfer. We thought that was a big deal. Guy graduates, he can be automatically eligible if he goes to another school. Then we had COVID, which brought in the extra year of eligibility, which still trying to figure all that stuff out. Then we brought in the grad transfer, the NIL. All those things put together have changed the whole scope of recruiting. And what's happened in the last 3.5 years, 4 years, and the 40-plus years I've been involved in college football.
Well, let's talk about transfer portal first, because that's probably the biggest educational side of things. As parents that may have played sports at the college level that now have their kids coming through as juniors and seniors. Talk about the difference, because let's go extreme. You talk about a University of Colorado. That has been like the entire apple cart has been turned over and refilled with apples thanks to the portal transfer. It can be that powerful for a team wanting to turn it around in 1 year.
Yes, you're right. Colorado's a perfect example. We even had that to some extent here, even though we don't venture into the transfer portal that much. We even had 2 years ago we signed 17 guys. This last year we signed 34, and so it has changed the whole scope of things. And what's happened is, truly believe there's a lot of good high school players that are being missed. They're being missed, and so the guys that normally had the opportunities at maybe a higher division may be playing maybe so to speak a division or two lower than what they should be. And what I've kind of come out, and a lot of people are using the phrase, well, bet on yourself. Go and see, get an opportunity, use that opportunity to the best of your ability, and see what you can do, and then maybe use that to move up a level. And I'm not condoning that, but that's kind of part of the new picture. And you got to have a plan. Everybody's got to have a plan. And it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah, and the plan is, for many of these guys, it's being constructed on the fly. The guys that were in college when COVID hit and are now, they have been freshmen or a redshirt freshman. Let's go even there. A redshirt freshman during the COVID year is suddenly experiencing what normally would be their final season coming up. But it's anything but their final season because of the fact that now you get the extra year of eligibility, you get the extra chance to play, you can play beyond graduating for another year, and so the talent gets dispersed in another way because coaches are suddenly saying, I need one piece, and that piece suddenly becomes available with a kid with 1 year left, and so it pushes people back that normally would be saying, hey, I finally got to college. I want to go to the college I dream of playing at, and there's a spot open. I know it because someone just graduated. Well, not necessarily. That spot may be filled for 1 year.
That's true. That's true. That's what's happening. Everybody's got a little different, philosophy as far as the recruiting philosophy, whether they're going to be heavy transfer portal, they're going to still go the high school route, they're going to be heavy JC. For us, what we've done the last couple of years, we wound up signing 70% of our guys have been from JCs. 24% have been high school and 6 transfer portal. And it's hard to turn away the JC guys. You've got some guys that have bet on themselves or were missed, and they go and they perform, and they've got post-high school video. And they've got that, and they're showing that they're being able to perform at a high level against, post-high school guys. And so you're going to take that 19-year-old young man versus that 17-year-old high school kid, more than likely, because it's a little bit more proven. Now, everybody knows about the superstars. Those guys are going to take care of themselves. But it's what a majority of teams are made up of good, solid football players. Everybody can pick out those great players. Now you got to get those guys that are going to help support and be really good college players.
Let's talk about the high school kids that are coming up, and even the junior college players that are in that freshman going into their sophomore season. And let's tie that into what Mark and these guys are doing down here, and that is putting these showcase camps together and combines in which players get a chance to put something on a piece of paper, on some tape that has some numbers. And Coach Gonzalez, talk to me about the importance of just outright it comes down to numbers. Sometimes on a kid has to produce certain numbers to get some eyeballs on him.
That's true, depending upon the level. Everybody gets caught up on the measurables. That's the quickest way to catch a coach's eye are the measurables. And I'm talking height, weight, I'm talking 40-yard dash, pro shuttle, those things right there. If you fit the prototype D1 offensive lineman, and for the most part, you got coaches ideally want a guy that's 6'4", 6'5", 290, 300 pounds. That can move on the offensive line. And so, that's kind of where it starts. And so to some extent, if you're not in that category, like I said, offensive line-wise, you're not probably going to be looked at as highly. And so you're going to have to be able to show a couple other things, that make you stand out. But for me, we're talking about a plan in the high school kids. You got to have a plan. I think it starts off with, first of all, everything is the most important thing is having the right grades. Okay, that's something that's the most important. Then you got to compete and train. You can continue to compete in the sports you're involved with, and you've got to train. And then it's doing the right things off the field. Okay, you got to have all those things lined up, and that doesn't start when you're a senior in high school. Okay, it doesn't start when you're senior high school. It starts it's starting earlier and earlier. But I say by the time you're a freshman, you got to have some kind of plan. Now that plan's going to change. It's probably going to change. You're going to have to deviate, readjust. But it also involves educating yourself about the process, knowing the difference between Division One, the so-called FBS schools, and then the Division Two, I still call it 1AA, FCS schools, knowing how many scholarships they have, because it's not unlimited scholarships. There's only so many spots. Okay, and it depends upon the needs and wants for that particular year. In a particular year for us, we may only take one safety, where sometimes because we got a lot of guys coming back, so we're only going to take one safety, so we're going to be very selective. Okay, and in other years we may take two safeties, so so we are going to be selective, but we're going to have another slot. So every place is different. Okay, so you've got to have a plan, and you got to be realistic. I talk about educating yourself and knowing the differences between the FBS level. They can give out 85 scholarships. They're full scholarships. At the FCS level, there's 63 scholarships that you can split up amongst 85 guys. Division II, they provide scholarships. They can split them up in a bunch of different ways. Division III per se doesn't provide athletic scholarships, but there's a lot of financial aid things that academic money that can be put together. NAI schools. And I guess my whole point is there's a lot of opportunities. And along with those opportunities, you got to find the right level for you. You got to find the right level for you. Once again, it comes to measurables, it comes to numbers, because as coaches, yes, the grades, that's part of the numbers process, but all those things will fit you in a certain category.
We can go in one or two directions here. Either one, I'll sit back and let you go. But one is I've seen parents, I've known players who think that senior year is the, quote, cleanup year. Okay, you did this, you did that, you did this during your freshman, junior, senior year, clean it all up at the senior year. Bad approach. Secondly is we can wait till your senior year to get ready for this. I'm not saying it's a failed approach every time, but it's a bad approach because of the number of things that has to be happening. Other parents have told me that they're shocked at times when a coach starts to drill into the academics that's happening throughout their high school career versus just their final grade in their senior year. And the fact that, coaches want to look at that as if I don't really want to talk about it. Those grades had better be in place or we can't have conversations. All right, we can go that direction, or we can go in the direction which I'd like to touch base too, and that is when these camps are put together and these combines are put together. I've seen those that guys are just it's a money grab. They're going to get as many players to sign up. They're going to throw some numbers, throw some measurements out there, and they aren't going to be certified. The ones that these guys are involved with are going to be some certified times, certified measurements. And so if you want to go that direction, let's talk about the importance and the difference when you look at a kid that has some certified numbers versus those that just like, hey, I've got a clock on me and a videotape of me running a 40, and I ran it in 4.2.
Exactly, and what Mark and those guys are doing down there is fantastic. Okay, and because they're going to get the camp experience. I think it's you can't go to camp just your senior year. First of all, you're not sure exactly what's going on. The nerves always fall into this. Go your freshman year, get a feel of what that camp's going to be like, and then you learn and you grow from that. But also coming back to these camps, these certified, verified camps, like that's going to be held down in the valley. But also these other camps where college coaches are at. When coaches go to camp, they pretty much already know who they're looking at. They have a pretty good idea. There's going to be a surprise here or there, but they already know who they're looking at. And so it starts with that. So these coaches have done their homework. Their scouting departments, their recruiting departments have done their homework. They've reached out for the most part to these kids in one form or fashion, okay, and made them aware that there's an interest there, okay? There's an interest there. So if you get that one letter, if you maybe get that one email, that's good. That means you're on a list. But you want to have some kind of correspondence. That's when you know they're actually recruiting, and that's what you want. You want to be actually recruited, okay, versus just being on a list. And I had a parent a long time ago tell me, well, what do you hear? Well, we're waiting on the University of Texas. I said, what have you heard from Texas? And she would say, we're waiting on the school. And I said, what do you have you heard anything? Well, they sent us a letter about a year ago. Well, you know what? they're not interested. Not only that, any school. Okay, they're going to be in correspondence and build a relationship and work it to let you know they have interest, and then go through the entire recruiting process where they offer you an official visit, they get you on campus, they're doing all those things, they do home visits. I mean, it's an entire process that's year round, and not only year round, but for years.
So let's talk about the combines. When coaches attend those and they're looking down at numbers and they do get all of these reports, is that the validation factor that says, okay, I got to see the kid on film, the coaches has been telling me about this kid, and now suddenly at least the number verification happens, and if that is the validation point, how important is that to come into play?
Yeah, it's important. It does validate it. Does verify. And once again, but there's going to be somebody that you may not know about. I mean, most part coaches go with a set list. They know who they're looking at, but there's always going to be a guy or two that's going to catch your eye, and you're going to compare them to everybody else you're recruiting and make a decision. But yes, that's important, and it's the old eyeball test. You know, as a coach, you want to be able to see the guy in person. You know, to have maybe an opportunity for a quick exchange, to start a relationship and get a feel for the athlete. That's just part of the whole recruiting process. Whether you've been recruiting the kid for a while, or whether it's just kind of it confirms things. I always kind of felt that camp. I always try to keep positive ways saying camp's not going to hurt you more than anything. It's going to help you. Okay, they're not necessarily the same things in my mind, but I just felt you get an opportunity to go to camp. Now, you got to be careful. You don't want to camp yourself out. Okay, you don't want to camp yourself out because you're putting a lot of time and effort. That's what I've seen. Unfortunately, a lot of guys do that. They camp themselves out, doing too many camps, and it's hot in the summer, and we're asking them to do a lot of things. And everybody's going high speed. So by the time they had that 4th or 5th camp, you got to plan it the right way. Okay, because when you got a time to shine, you got to shine.
You got to shine. And I've talked to parents that have had that eye-opening experience as well, and that is they literally have their kids at something every weekend, all weekend, every weekend of the year outside of the season. Then the season comes, and then the kid gets to college. And we all know that when you get to college, if you think you worked hard in high school, then guess what? Football is about to take another level, and that's the fear. Is that the parents burn the kid out before they ever get to a college experience, because we know it's magnified in a big degree.
Yes. I mean, I want to go back real quick, and I assume you're right at that, but I want to go back to, like I talked about, you got a time to shine. I want to give you a scenario that happened to me several years ago. I'm attending a camp, and I visit with this family. They've got an athlete, wide receiver. It kind of catches my eye, good physically looking, runs pretty good. Start talking to the family, start a conversation where they're interested in the walk-on, position at a certain school, and they're trying to kind of get through. And I said, well, hey, I know some guys at that school. And said, I'm going to see him perform. Well, I watch him as his time to perform. I was getting ready to make a phone call on my family's behalf to a friend of mine, say, hey, you need to take a look at this guy. Because I said, hey, he had some numbers, he had some statistical numbers. Not that it was everything, but everything combined. Had the grades, had already been kind of admitted to school, all those things there. But when I was watching him, he didn't perform. He didn't shine. I went up to the parents afterwards. They looked me right in the eye and they knew I couldn't make that phone call. So the example is, you got a chance to shine. You got to shine. It's your time. And then you relay that to the season. Okay, and on video, okay, you got to dominate. Okay, you just can't be a guy on the field. You got to dominate on the field. And depending upon the big thing for me and for a lot of coaches is level of competition. Who are you playing against? Okay, are you playing in a small country town, or are you playing going against the division? I mean, coaches take all that stuff into consideration, and you put that together with all the guys they're looking at, where they start, and how many guys they can take. On the average, they may take 2 offensive linemen, maybe 3 a year. unless they lose the whole bunch. They may take one quarterback. They may take one running back. They may take one corner, two safeties. I mean, it's not 7 or 8 at a position. You know, it's just not like that. So it's very selective. It's very selective, and you've got to get yourself in the position to be one of those guys that's in that group that's got the opportunity to be selected.
Yeah, I had a college recruiter I sat next to one time that was recruiting basketball, and he had a little notebook, and he was keeping tally marks. And I was like, what are those tally marks? He goes, I watch not the times down the court that they did something. I watch the times down the court that they took a break. And he goes, every one of these tally marks isn't a good mark I'm making here, Mr. Bowling. And, it's like you have to separate yourself. And the ways to do that is the little intangible things. It's like, are you taking breaks on specific plays? How many times do you do that? Are you walking back here? Are you running back here? All the little stuff. I call them eyeball catchers, and that's what you guys are looking for. I'm certain of that as recruiters.
There's no doubt. I mean, there's a running back, okay? In the old days, we used to run the wishbone. We had 3 running backs in the backfield. We had 2 with the OI formation. Well, now we got 1, and sometimes none. So in the old days, we had 5 or 6 guys on scholarship because that's what you needed. But now you may have 3, so there's not as many opportunities there. Okay, so there's a lot of running backs. There's a lot of good running backs. There's only a few great ones. But, I want to see a running back, after I've seen him on the first 5 plays bust the play for 50 yards, and nobody did. Okay, there's a lot of guys that do that. I want to see him block. I want to see him carry out the fake. I want to see him catch the ball. I want to see if he does anything on special teams. All those other things. You got to know how to put your highlight film together. Because once again, I've never seen a bad highlight film. That's why they call them highlight films. Okay, but at the same time, you got to know what you put together. I jokingly say, hey, I made up my mind the first 5 plays. Okay, I'm getting ready to click this off, and all of a sudden you go, whoa, that's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm waiting for. And so there's a lot involved. It's not, you just don't piecemeal stuff together. You got to have a plan. You got to educate yourself, and you got to be realistic.
Got it. Hey, how often do you guys look on the sidelines, especially on the recruiting of football side, and you're watching for posture, mannerism, and attentiveness?
Body language, all that stuff. Anytime you get a chance to, there's a shot on the sideline from the wide angle and your guy's not on there or something, you want to see what if you get a shot, that just gives you an extra opportunity. You go watch a game. Yeah, you know what he can do during the game. They may be going against a tougher opponent, tough day for the offensive line. As a running back, he's not getting much, but what's his body language like? Well, how does he react to his teammates? How does teammates react to him? All those things.
I had coaches tell me many times, and you can chime in on this. I've had coaches tell me more times than not, the bad traits of players coming into college are magnified before the good ones are, more times than not.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're going to look at everybody's Twitter account. Yeah, we're going to make sure there's nothing that's inappropriate on that Twitter account. Because there's just too much at risk. To be able to put yourself in a situation like that by not taking the right guy.
Got it. Well, Coach, I promised you yesterday I wouldn't keep you much more than 30 minutes. I've done that, and so I want to thank you again for joining us here, and wish you guys best of luck this year in your season. One of these shows we'll call you, and we'll just strictly talk UTEP football and where you guys are at and what the season looks like. But I appreciate you joining us here today.
Well, I appreciate it. Just like I tell people, big time coming up. Everything's accelerating. This recruiting process continues to accelerate. Try to stay with it, ahead of the game. See what's going on out there. Educate yourselves, and hope everybody has a good summer, good camp summer, and a good fall. And I look forward to visiting with you sometime here in the late summer, early fall about UTEP football.
Sounds good. That's Jimmy Gonzalez. He's with the University of Texas El Paso, UTEP. Talking recruiting football. Thanks again for joining us. We'll be right back after this at Luke Fruia Motors, Buick GMC and Cadillac in Brownsville, Texas. Back after this.
Ibanez Tortilleria, serving up freshly made in-house corn and flour tortillas since 1994. Try our delicious menudo, tasty barbacoa, fresh tamales, tacos, variadas with juicy grilled chicken, and tender fajitas. On Mondays, buy one barbacoa taco and get one free if you mention that you're a Bloodhound fan. Located at 4726 Paredes Line Road, Brownsville, Texas. Open every day at 6:30 a.m. till 9 p.m. To order, contact 956-541-9594.
Back here at Luke Fruia Motors. Again, that was Jimmy Gonzalez. Coach, thanks for setting that interview up. Well, he brought in a lot of information right there, and he's got a bunch more if he wanted to keep talking.
No, definitely. He's a guru when it comes to that. He's been doing it for a long time all over the country, Power 5 schools. He loves what he does, and it shows. But he's helped a lot of kids down the road, that's for sure. One of them was me, when they came recruiting me and things like that. And going back to what Coach was saying, what you were mentioning about kids just don't understand the level, the change of the level when you go from high school to college when it comes to training, working out. When you think you have one dad at home, now you got 12 dads. One of the things that happened when I was at TCU, this was during two-a-days, we get all kids from all over, everywhere coming in on scholarship and walk-ons. And so we wound up starting our two-a-days. I think we were 3 or 4 days into two-a-day workouts. And one of my teammates at that time, he was from a small school, 3A school, all-stater, patches up and down his jacket. We go to show up on the first day or one of the first days in the morning for workout, and they're asking where so-and-so is. And so, Coach, we don't know. We haven't seen him this morning. And he goes, well, he says one of the trainers to the dorm, trainer comes back and says, he's gone. He says, what do you mean? He says, yeah, all his stuff's packed, his truck's gone. He left in the middle of the night just to find out how different it is at another level that you have to do mentally and physically.
Yeah.
And then something that Coach just wanted to touch base on something that Coach mentioned when it comes to recruiting and highlights. Some of the things that they look for, not only what Coach mentioned, but also some coaches are going to ask for regular 2 quarters of a game. So it's easy for your highlights because you put all the great plays that you had, but then they ask for 2 quarters of a regular game, and that really shows them what they're looking for. Yeah,
they get to see if your number wasn't called, what are you doing? There's still 11 men on the field, and you're one of them.
Exactly.
And again, Mark, talk about the difference in. You think you're working hard, and there are high school coaches that push kids to the ultimate level of extreme as far as conditioning, as far as going over playbooks and going in plays and practices. College is still another level.
It's a whole different level. If you don't mind, I'm going to give you a little story. When I moved from Brownsville to Edinburgh and went to Edinburgh High, my father, we went to go meet Coach Flores. And the first guy I ran into, I don't know if the name will ring a bell, is Philip Money. His Kai Money's dad.
Yeah, Kai.
So Philip's a quarterback at Edinburgh High. He's the first guy I met. We started talking, and he's showing me the locker room and everything over there at Edinburgh High. And a little while later, he comes up to me and goes, hey, how would you like to start working out with me? And I said, sure, that'd be great. I'd love to. The first guy I met, teammate anyway. And he says, okay, so what I'll start doing, I'll give you a call, but I'll pick you up at 4:30, and we'll start training next week. So I said, oh, that's great. So after a while, I started thinking, I'm like, well, 4:30, we're still at school. How's he going to pick me up and we're going to work? So I get back with him. He goes, I said, Philip, you mentioned 4:30. Are we going at 4:30 in the afternoon? He goes, no, I'm going to pick you up at 4:30 in the morning. We're going to go train. We go to McAllen because, we didn't have one of those gyms in Edinburgh yet. Mm-hmm. Then we go back and eat breakfast, go to school. I did that for all of my high school career. Philip started me on that. And that was probably the turning point of my football and everything else that I wanted to do athletically, because it gave you that discipline. So for all those years, those freshman, junior, sophomore, junior years, I was getting up 4:30 in the morning, 3 days a week during school and doing that. And then the other 2 days we were getting up and running. And that instilled what it was going to take to be able to take what you're going to have once you get to the college level.
Because that is exceptional, to be able to go outside of the normal schedule of workouts that coaches are putting you through. And as Coach just said, put yourself in a position to have a plan of, my workouts started at 4:30 in the morning, and then school, and then practice and or games. But when you got to the college level, coaches were looking at that like, Yeah.
I was ready. When we got to TCU, we had to run a mile and a half for time, and I was ready. After we ran that time, I wound up finishing first, and that bewildered the coaches because I was from the valley. I wasn't from up north.
Yep.
And they didn't believe that somebody like that could be, or from where I'm from, be prepared like that. But that's what it did for me. And it took me to a whole nother level, the way I was represented and the way I was treated.
Because on a depth chart at the college level, at the higher levels, you could easily be 6-7 deep on a depth chart and have to claw your way up to the top of that. But that's where the separators are early on. When a coach says, okay, they've got this foundation of what they're doing, and this is what you guys are trying to get through in these camps. I know it is.
Yes.
On the camps and then the combines, as far as, Coach just said it, it's validation on one point, but it's also that one chance to turn ahead that is there to look at somebody else and it's like, wait a minute, did that kid just do that?
Exactly.
And that's what these combines are all about.
And just going back to what I said about the running, it wasn't all positions, just linemen.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I was going to beat all those other guys, but, it set a precedence, and even as well as for myself. It gave me that confidence that I needed to compete at that level. That's a long way. It gives you a lot to work with.
Yep, and it's about setting those, again, the foundation stones of, how are you ready when the next level comes calling, to be in position to not be, because you can easily get blown away. These coaches are asking me to do what?
Right.
And work out this, and there's not just one guy in my ear. There's 5 or 6 or 10 or 12 that are in my ear every day, all day, demanding this. But then the fruits of the labor are you do it, and then you have a whole lot of fun at the college level.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, it's like, here back in the day in the early 80s, I was 6'5", 255 pounds. Defensive end, so that's huge in the valley. But it was gonna depict what I was gonna do after that against teams that meant that were at another level, like the Gregory Portlands and the Corpus Christi's and the San Antonio teams, and then to be able to compete at the same level as them, that makes a difference for us. And you've got to give them what the things that they're looking for. It wasn't just because I was 6'5", 255, but what I was going to do with it that was going to take me to that other level. And it's the same thing with all the other boys, especially the big boys from our area. Those things you got to do to show them that you can. Because for me, once I got to TCU, 6'5", 255, 260, well, there was 30 of me,
Yep.
So what were you going to do different that was going to have the coach have you stand out? Yeah,
I was at covering a team, a player that I knew, 6'6", 270, I think is what it was being recruited by University of Arkansas. His mom asked me, hey, can you take him down? He's got an official visit. He needs to go down there. They're wanting to go walk on the field. Alabama's in town. Alabama was number 1 at the time. Right. And so, I took him down there, and indeed, this kid stood out size-wise, physical-wise. He was the strongest guy in the weight room and all of this stuff. We got in that room with all the other recruits that were there for that particular visit. Well, first of all, Arkansas, which was pretty good that year, looked so small compared to the Alabama team that was on the field, number 1 in the nation. So suddenly you're looking at all these huge players that are coming in that are playing against Arkansas. But this kid is being recruited by Arkansas. And now you're looking at when he walked in that room with the other linemen, like you said, every one of them were 6'6", 6'7", 270, 280. And then they started talking, just in conversations, Travis was talking to this kid and talking about this kid, and they were all asking, what did you do in the 40? What did you do in this? What did you do in the vertical? And it's like he left, and we were driving home. He said, every one of them could out bench press me. Every one of them had a faster 40. And he said, here, I thought I was ready. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, you're a junior. You got another year to get ready for this. It's not saying you're not ready because they're looking at you. They want you to come down and visit the college. Right. But in the bigger picture, there are so many guys out there that are the right size, that are the right height, but don't necessarily bring the right tools. Right. And that's what your camps and that's what you guys are trying to teach.
Exactly. It's a mindset. You know, your parents can only do so much for you. You have to do the rest, and that create that mindset and the direction that you want to go and accomplish those goals.
Again, the Tex Preps has got their combine coming up at U.S. Army. Tex Preps is putting that on here in the Rio Grande Valley at Donna Stadium, Benito Prado Stadium, and it's a big deal. And I know you guys were setting it up last week when we talked. Is that in place now for people to sign up and get on that?
We're almost there. We're they've been finishing up all the graphics under Signing Day Sports and the U.S. Army Combine. So I'm hoping by the end of the week we're going to be good to go. But, man, we're excited about it. I know the people with Signing Day Sports and U.S. Army Combine, they've never done this before here in our area, so they're excited about coming down and doing that. We have a little step up it's right after the Combine, but that's that free camp in the city of Primera.
It's not little anymore.
Well, no, it's not little anymore either. We opened that for registration on Monday, and as to today, we had 150 kids that signed up. So we're excited for not only our organization, but for the kids. They're going to have opportunity to work with some professional athletes. You know, Mike Magruder from the Patriots, which played in the Super Bowl as well. Then Mike Lewis from the Saints, which he still holds NFL records to this day. So they're going to be around some good quality guys, as well as all the coaches from the Valley that are helping us and assisting us. One that's really, really spearheaded this for us, Coach Gus Cavazos, former PSA Memorial coach, Rio Hondo, had a lot of success at those schools, and we're excited to have him, be behind us and backing that up.
And that's in Primera. Now, again, last week when we were talking about this, we were just throwing it out there. Hey, this camp is going on. Try to sign up. Be sure you get there. But now there is talk that we may have to limit this thing as far as the number of athletes. So if you haven't signed up and you want to, now's the time.
Sign up for that. Like I said, it's going to be great for the little ones. The Combine is going to be huge, the U.S. Army Combine for our boys that you're looking at. Coach Jimmy was mentioning, as well as you, Joe, on the numbers. You know, these numbers, Signing Day Sports will have these numbers go out to over 400 colleges. And these are certifiable numbers. That means these coaches at different colleges, they're gonna take those serious. So it's a great opportunity to get something done here in your own backyard.
When you were going through the ranks at your final 2 years in high school, did you look at your times and did you take it personal? I want to better that time each and every time out.
For me, I wasn't really big on my times because I wasn't a fast guy. I was a quick guy. You know, my footwork, I worked a lot on my footwork, so getting off the ball. That's one of the things that I thought I was going to take to the collegiate level of defensive end. And then I was disappointed when I got there because as soon as I got there, they said, Mark, you're not doing old D-line. You're moving to offensive tackle. So I had never played that, as all my years. I started off as a running back, then went to defensive end, and then all of a sudden collegiate level, a position I never played before. But one thing that TCU did for me was I learned how to play every position on the offensive line. Even had to learn how to snap right-handed because I'm a lefty. So that gave me a lot of insight when it comes to the defensive line and offensive line play.
And it also is another preparation note that you have to be ready. Yes, you're going to be a star at your high school level if you're going to entertain, collegiate play. But you need to be paying attention to meetings, to playbooks, because you may not necessarily play in that exact
position
spot
that you want to play. You have to be a yes or no sir kid, athlete, because you never know what they're going to throw at you, and if you're not, that hinders you. And just like what Coach Jimmy said too, those things, that's what they're looking for, and if you're not coachable, if you're not teachable, if you're not willing to adapt, then that's going to hurt you.
You get into some positions and the talk is that I'll get by with technique. Okay, I'll get by with great footwork. I'll get by with this. And then it comes down to, well, you can't beat speed. And coming in off the ends, defensive ends, you can have all the technique in the world.
Right.
But you're going to slide over on the offensive side because technique is the only thing can offset speed sometimes.
Exactly. And that's what, like, for me, that was a really big part of what I did was my quickness. So I could adjust from that speed with my quickness, but also – I knew how to use my hands, and I knew my angles, and I knew my leverages, and those are the things that go into, especially offensive line play. It's It's more playing in the trenches is more than just playing in the trenches. You have to understand. It's like a chess game. You have to be able to counter what they bring you. If you can't counter, then you lose. And those are the things that you have to understand once you go to every level that you want to participate in any athletics, but especially football.
Yeah, my daughter used to tell me, "Hey, Dad, tell me something fun about fundamentals." There's nothing fun, and the words shouldn't be in the middle of it. And then the other thing I used to tell them all the time is, "Hey, the little things are the little things that become the biggest things to make a difference."
Definitely, yeah. The little things make the big things easier. So if you can get that, then you're going in the right direction.
All right, so let's again talk about the U.S. Army thing. Give me the date on that, and just a downright as many details as we can give people right now.
Yes, June 20th is going to be the combine. Now the guys, Coach Mazzoni, which heads up Signing Day Sports, former Power 5 coach and coach with the New York Jets. He's throwing a little special extra for our skill guys. So when they register online, once it's up there, like I said, who should be by the end of the week, the skill guys are going to have something a little special. It's not going to be on there, but on the 19th of, I think it was going to be a Tuesday evening, he's going to do a quarterback, DB, and wide receiver camp. He's a former collegiate quarterback. He's coached quarterbacks in all levels. So he was very excited about being able to do that. And that's going to be included in the camp for the skill guys.
Wow.
And then the next day on the 20th, then we're going to have all the positions in there. We're going to do the combine where they're going to get their numbers. And then as we go along, then we'll have those one-on-ones and things like that where the guys can really shine.
June 20th.
Yes, sir.
And then the Primera date?
Primera date is June the 24th.
And that is available right now.
Yes.
Tex Preps. Go to the website. You can sign up for that right now, and I encourage you to do so,
yes,
as do you, because the numbers are getting bigger.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We're growing. I think, like I said, we have up 150 as of today. We're hoping we're going to try to do as many as we can, but we know there's going to have to be a cutoff. We just don't, we want to be able to service the kids the best way we can and not just have the kids out there and not learn anything.
Got it. Anything else?
Just real quick, we want to thank again Armia Tech, what helps and supports Tex Preps.
Yes, sir.
And we're excited, and we appreciate you letting us do this. It's a one-way communication, Armia Tech. It's digital, so there's no Wi-Fi,
it's
no
cool.
Bluetooth. Yes, no cellular. Everybody, they all love it. We're very excited because the state of Louisiana looks like they're going to be the forefront in the high school level. We do have it in NCAA baseball. And we're real excited. I just talked to our vice president this morning, Milton Powell, for Armia Tech. He's worked real close with Coach Gilpin at Mission Veterans.
All right.
So we're excited about Coach Gilpin going to take the plunge here and start utilizing it as a practice tool. We believe very strongly that it's going to take you in another level just in your practice. I'll give you an example. One of the coaches here locally had used it not too long ago, and usually in his 15-minute Scully session, he'd run 11, 12 plays. With the system, he ran 32 plays. And as well as the University of Nebraska has the system as well. So we're excited about them, using it on our behalf.
Armia Tech, on your wrist. He's got them right here.
Right there.
Put it on your wrist. Instantaneous messages come across the board to every player on the field.
Yes, sir.
And they'll know the play that's being called. They'll know which direction you're going. And I'll have David Gilpin. And David's one of my favorite coaches to work with.
Yeah,
I'll have Coach Gilpin down here to talk about his response and how his players react to that.
I appreciate it. One of the great things about it, we always talk about the skill guys. How many times the receivers forget their play or forget their route. So with this, it's self-explanatory. You can put in that system where the X is going to run a dig, Y is going to run a curl, Z is going to run a post. So there's no mistake in it. And now the boys say, "Oh, Coach, I didn't get it." No, you got it on your receivers, so you better watch out.
And the difference is, let's go down to environment. Big game, big crowd, a lot of noise. So get away from the audible is going to come through. That may not happen. Secondary, you got guys moving, positioning. Things are happening on the field. So vision-wise, you're tunneled into what's happening on the field and where the guys are that you're responsible for blocking or evading. And so catching a sign on the sideline isn't necessarily going to be. But this is a vibration that hits your arm,
Yes.
and a quick look down at your arm, and there's what you need to do.
What's the first thing you do when your phone buzzes?
You take a look at
Yeah,
it.
exactly. It's the same that you do with here. And like I said, it's just an exciting tool for now to use for practice because it also creates that muscle memory. Because now you're not just listening to the play every time you're on the practice field, but you're looking at it. So you retain that more, and so you become more efficient when it comes down to the games. It's going to help in the games as well.
And it's also going to be a game changer from the booth up above because now guys that see adjustments at the last second are able to hit that button one more time and say, hey, there's 4 seconds on the play clock. This is the play. And then you can look down one last second, split second in this case, before snap.
You receive the plays in milliseconds.
Yes.
And every time we're working on upgrading systems are always coming out. You know how technology is.
Oh, yeah.
So it just gets quicker and quicker and better as we go along.
Well, what have coaches talked to you about that use this in the booth as far as communication-wise? Well, what's their experience level?
Oh, they enjoy it because it just makes everything that much faster, And if they have to adjust, like you said, they can adjust. Also on the sidelines, the coaches like it because now you don't have coaches looking over your shoulder for the play, right? Hey, coach, what's the play? What's the play? No, any coach on the sideline as well as player that has the receiver on is going to receive that play. So now everybody's in that play.
Nobody's going to be able to look on the sidelines and see any kind of scouts at all. No hand signals, no footwork, no signs.
No signs. It's like we mentioned last week with the baseball, and that team's like, we didn't pick any signs up, no signals, what? And so they couldn't believe they didn't catch anything. They weren't able to steal any signs. And so when they found out what it was, they came the next day and called us and bought the system.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
All right, another good visit here at Buick GMC Cadillac. We are at Luke Fruia Motors. We're in Brownsville, Texas. They're one of our sponsors here on Real Sports Live. And we do encourage you, again, at the very least, stop by. Tell them thank you for being a sponsor and helping us produce the sports that we do. We met with boxing promoter earlier today and want to throw that out there. July 27th will be at Payne Arena, professional boxing on Real Sports Live. That'll be a full night's coverage of some of the up-and-coming professionals that are coming into the Rio Grande Valley and from outside the valley. And so watch for that. We'll watch for the press conferences and the weigh-ins. So that's exciting stuff. I want to remind you again of our showcases. Those charter schools have made it to the state championships in both softball and baseball. We're trying to get out there. Rudy and I are going to be extremely busy over the next couple of days. High school graduations, sliding over onto Real Sports Live and our network, whether it's on the Premium Channel, RSL2, RSL3, the Bloodhound Channel, the MMA Leatherneck Channel. Our channels are going to be fully running with content on Real Sports Live. And then, by the way, you softball fans, we are continuing to assist schools that are still alive in the playoffs with production assistance in broadcasting playoff sports on their platforms. And so Lyford called me just a while ago, and so you Lyford softball fans are going to be able to watch your team as they participate in the game against Jordanton. And we've got other phone calls that we're waiting on there. That'll do it for our show. Again, our thanks to Jimmy Gonzalez from UTEP for joining us on the phone. My thanks to Mark.
Yes, and Mark Lopez. Without Mark Lopez, Tex Preps wouldn't be possible.
And Mark Lopez, who wasn't here, but he was here last week, and he'll be here again.
Yes, sir.
Till next time, I'm Joe Bowling for Real Sports Live. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you later.